So Dovetail held their official preview stream for the upcoming Stuttgart 2 Heilbronn route yesterday, and I watched the entire thing, took tons of notes, and wanted to share my thoughts with you before the release this Tuesday. Now, I will save my full review for when I get my hands on it, but based on what we saw in the stream, definitely a lot worth discussing. First up, the scenery, at least from what we saw, doesn't look bad at all. Station modeling appears to be pretty good, and things don't look too empty or too bare bones in those areas. There are some nice touches too, like I love the wine gardens visible alongside the tracks at one point. I also think the track layout on this route is pretty interesting too. There's one section where you have 2 up lines and 2 down lines. So if you're running a slower freight service, you'll see S-Bahn trains pass you, but then you can pass them when they stop at a station. I actually really like that kind of gameplay. Sometimes the 1 up and 1 down routes just get a bit monotonous. This is something that seems a bit more common on British routes, so I like that we have that here. And in some parts, you have even more than 4 tracks. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the development time on this route went into laying track. I was actually very impressed with the complexity of the track work itself. There's definitely a lot going on infrastructure-wise. So the new locomotive, the DBBR140, looks pretty good. I think the team did a solid job with it visually, at least from what we saw in this preview. And I'm going to reserve deeper thoughts until I can actually drive it myself. But again, from the preview stream, I was pretty impressed with it. I think the sounds, both internal and external, are nice. They sound pretty good to me. I can't speak to accuracy here, and if you have thoughts on that based on what you heard in the stream, definitely leave those in the comments. But at least to my ears, I thought the horn sounded pretty good. The motor sounds were pleasant, and I also like the way the rail joint sounds came through inside the cab. There's also some good news on compatibility. The BR140 will substitute with other freight locos on other routes, which is exciting. I'm always here for any sort of backwards compatibility and support. I will definitely be taking this thing out on older routes because I do like the look of it. So the Wittenberger cab car also substitutes on the Frankfurt Fulda N-Wagon timetable. That's a nice bonus. And it also works with the Vectron too. So some solid cross-route functionality happening there. Speaking of the cab car, the internals do look nice. It does feel oddly familiar to me, very similar to the IC Stewart wagon from the Expert Pack, but I think the quality here is pretty good. So some good news on the technical side. I did notice that suspension on the BR140 does work, so we don't have to worry about that being missing at launch. Track shadows are also present too. That's good news. So it seems like we're doing better with core features being implemented at start, which we've seemed to have a big problem with lately. Train faults also seem to work during the stream. There was one segment where there were a few door faults, and you know, the usual, passengers glitching through doors and getting stuck. But I've already talked about the passenger system and the major improvements that are needed there before, so I won't go too far into that. There are also some interesting additions coming to the timetable overlay screen. Matt mentioned a system log you can access from the pause menu, and also a display showing the number of active faults. So definitely a nice quality of life improvement. Now, one thing that would make the timetable screen even better is bringing back the action points display for each objective. It doesn't show them anymore, not since that timetable overlay bug from a while back. Now, they fixed the on foot issue, at least from my own experience, but I hate having to go into the menu just to see how many action points I earned for completing specific objectives. I swear, it's starting to feel like a Mandela effect where I'm questioning if it was ever there, but I know for a fact that it was. Now, in terms of concerns, the first one is blurry textures. There was actually an entire segment during the preview stream where they talked about blurry textures, and if that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know, then I don't know what will. They did acknowledge that it's a core issue, which is true, but the fact that they had to have a whole segment addressing this because everyone's worried about whether they'll run into this problem if they buy the route, that's where we are right now. The issue seems to be plaguing almost everything we get at this point, regardless of size or scope. What they essentially said is expected to happen on this route, but we're still working on a solution. For those who have everything installed, there are already signs of the blurring happening, so it is confirmed to be present. Unfortunate, and yet once again unacceptable for a new release in 2025. Now, empty yards. Remember remember how I mentioned the track work and yard complexity? Again, all of those are great, but most of those yards are completely empty. It actually shocked me while watching the stream. There's really just nothing there on the sidings, and keep in mind, this is with all the layers active. So taking that into account, how is the route as a whole going to be for players who don't own all the layers? I just feel like it's gonna be kind of dead. I've seen a lot of other people bringing this up in the stream comments too. You build all this impressive infrastructure, all these complex track layouts, and then there's nothing sitting on them. It definitely undercuts the atmosphere. Now for timetable and historical accuracy, when they clicked on the timetable screen, it was like a giant flash of a red, a whole sea of DB red. Definitely disappointed me, especially because a lot of people are saying that in the year 2000, which is when this route is set, it wasn't actually like this. The railways were quite colorful with a lot of variation. DB red wasn't introduced until the 90s, so it wasn't as dominant as they're making it out to be here. One forum user, SunKing135, put it pretty well. They asked why the Mint N wagon from Linke Rheinstrecke aren't included when the intercity coaches are. Why the DB Regio sticker is still applied when people have pointed out that it didn't come until 2009. Why important logos of the era like the 103 are omitted. And if creating livery variations is supposedly easy and uncomplicated, why no S-Bahn Stuttgart 423? Definitely very fair questions. If you're setting a route in a specific time period, the details should reflect that timetable. The variety should be there. The team explained that the main reason for choosing this era was construction at Stuttgart Station in the present day, plus they wanted the BR140 in the game, and I definitely understand that reasoning, but it doesn't quite explain the lack of period-appropriate variety. Now, during the stream, we saw some bugs. The game wasn't picking up that SIFA was turned on and the player wasn't getting all the action points, so we might be looking at a situation where cab car platinum medals aren't possible, at least right away, at least not without using God mode cheats. This feels quite familiar. We've had this issue too many times with German trains. The Vectron on Zwolle to Groningen, for example, has the same problem. To this day, you still can't earn platinum medals on those few services because the game won't give you full points with safety systems enabled. They never fixed that, it's still broken. Now for other quick notes, the 420 is coming eventually. Quote, when it's ready is the official word. I'm personally a bit surprised it was announced so far in advance given it's still not out, but to their credit, they're making proper variants for the different routes, so taking time does make sense, and the team is also working on other projects. When the 420 does arrive, it will be usable on this route. As for the sounds on the 423, there are a lot of projects going on and time is limited, so an update for those sounds is unlikely, but maybe next year. So all in all, it's a mixed picture going in. Honestly, just from the preview stream, the BR140 does look promising, and again, the track complexity is pretty impressive, and it does look like the core features are working, so that's a plus. But the confirmed texture issues and empty yards are real concerns, and the historical accuracy questions from the community definitely deserve answers. They seem to be pretty quiet there. Thankfully, the one container cars have been removed, so that's a start. I'll likely be picking this up on Tuesday and doing a proper review once I've had time with it. If it feels worth the price, I'll keep it, but if it feels more like a sale purchase, I'll probably refund it and grab it later. Either way, more detailed thoughts are coming soon. Now, if you watched the preview stream, definitely drop your thoughts in the comments. Did anything stand out that I missed? Are you going to be picking this one up on day one or waiting for a sale? As always, thanks for watching. Take care, guys, and happy rail simming.